What's up guys, Rob here from Shonen Showdown. Today we are going to rank the best swordsmen in anime based off of skill and technique. Now if you guys take a look here, you see a chart that was not made by me. If we look towards the chart, we have Mihawk, Law, Inosuke, Hiei, Zabuza, Kenshin Himura, Asta, Akame, Black Star, Zoro, Yuno, and Yami. So this chart is jam-packed with top tier anime swordsmen, but if you see the prompt here, who has the coolest swords and the best technique? So what we're just gonna do is we're gonna rank them from worst to best on their technique, their skill as swordsmen, not just strictly their power alone. We're looking at how good they are with the sword. Now that it has been stated that we are going off of the skill and the techniques, Hiei is last place. With all due respect, we have to remember that Hiei, even in the Dark Tournament, he was a powerhouse and we got to see the sword of the Darkness Flame. It was nice. He picked up a broken sword, it was battered, and he was able to channel his spiritual energy through the sword to land that crazy technique. We know that he's an A-class demon. He's top tier. We love Hiei, but as a swordsman, he is not really there because he is not a pure swordsman. If we know anything about Hiei, Hiei is a better fighter as a martial artist than he is as a swordsman. He can use a sword, yes, but he is not a top tier swordsman. Even if we want to show love to the swords of the Darkness Flame technique, it is not really hanging with anybody else's top tier techniques on this chart. I had to put Hiei at 12 in terms of swordsmanship. Sitting right above Hiei, what happened to be Trafalgar Law from One Piece? We've seen Law fight against the best of them with his Devil Fruit power. I mean, Law has the ability to teleport within his room using shambles. He can use tact and levitate things. He can go crazy, literally using abilities like counter shock and gamma knife to damage your internal organs. Law is top tier all around. We know how powerful he is, but his swordsmanship is the weakest part of his game. When we talk about One Piece swordsmen, we lament the fact that Law really does not know how to really use his sword to max potential. When you look at other swordsmen in One Piece, they are top tier haki users. They are able to infuse their haki into their swords and use Ryuo. Law has not demonstrated any of this so far. He is strictly a Devil Fruit fighter, so he is going to be towards the bottom of this chart, absolutely. Going into number 10, we're going to tackle one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist in Zabuza. Let's get something cleared up right away. If you are getting outsmarted by Kid Sasuke and Kid Naruto, that's all I really need to hear. I mean, there is no way you are a top tier swordsman on this chart and you're losing to Genin. I mean, it just is what it is. Now, again, Kakashi was there, but Naruto and Sasuke were able to pretty much outsmart Zabuza in order to free up Kakashi. Yes, they had a lot of help with them, but Zabuza should have done a lot more as one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. He had some great water style jutsu, but there wasn't really great demonstrations of his swordsmanship that I got to see in that matchup. So I'm going to put Zabuza towards the bottom of the chart as well. Now it's starting to get a little tough as we're breaking into the top 10 a little bit here, and I'm probably going to have to go with Yuno from Black Clover. There was a moment in time where I would have put Yuno much higher on this chart because I believe the Spirit of Zephyr's sword in Black Clover is top tier. Yuno showed us how he was able to compete with even some of the top Magic Knight captains in a reel. He was able to keep up with the Word Soul Demon in Zagreus. He was able to box with Lich. We've seen all these things that Yuno has shown us, but when you're bringing in swordsmanship, we are talking technique, we are talking skill with the sword. Is Yuno a pure swordsman? Has he been showing us top tier swordsmanship? No, I think what Yuno has been showing us is that he is a master at wind magic. Obviously, he has the spirit with him, granting him all these great abilities. He has a 4-leaf grimoire, so Yuno is top tier as a wind magic user. But the swordsmanship is not really his strong suit, and we've seen somebody completely expose this in Zenon. One of the Dark Triad showed Yuno that he was not ready as a swordsman, and that's the only reason why I have Yuno this low. It's not a knock on his power, it's a knock on his swordsmanship. Going on to number 8, I'm looking at Black Star from Soul Eater. Now this is an interesting pick here because Black Star, obviously we know that he has a weapon partner in Tsubaki. She's able to pretty much enhance his abilities with the resonance, and she can also help him with shadow manipulation. We've seen Black Star against Mosquito using shadow techniques, helping to grab his opponents and do certain things so he can attack with the shadows as well. And he is a decent swordsman. He's able to outsmart even the likes of a Mifune, so he's not low tier at all. He has some great intellect. Him and Tsubaki work well together. I just had have not seen any top tier swordsmanship skills from him, and you have to knock off a couple of points because he does have help with Tsubaki. There are moments where Blackstar has landed some lethal blows on opponents, so he knows where to strike, he knows how to move, he's agile, he has great strength and speed. We have to give him credit there, and he does know how to use the sword. He is sitting towards the lower end because, again, he does have help with Tsubaki. Coming in at number 7, I'm probably going to have to go with Asta. Now, I know what you guys are going to say. Asta's incredibly powerful. He's super fast, but the majority of his power is derived from Libe, and we have to give credit where credit is due. Asta is a great swordsman, but he really relies on his anti-magic, and that is really what helps carry him far. Now, again, if you want to say that in the show of Black Clover, that anti-magic was once looked down upon, we understand all that, but now we know the truth. Now we know that people really need Asta's power because he is arcane, and him being arcane also gives him an extra edge as a magic knight. And then on top of that, he can harness the anti-magic to help boost his stamina and speed with the demon mana skin. Asta pretty much at this point is using the sword just as a tool to output his anti-magic. He's not really showing us top tier swordsmanship, but he is showing us that the sword is helping him to move in this direction because he also has access to another sword that's able to absorb magic and redirect it back to opponents. He also had a top tier sword at one point, in which used to be Lich's old sword. The swords that Asta has at his disposal are top tier. Let's not sleep. But as a swordsman, as a pure swordsman, I don't know if I would put Asta at the top. I would probably put him towards the middle of the pack because he is an anti-magic user and he is arcane. There's a lot going in his favor as well. At number 6, for pure swordsman, I'm going with Inosuke from Demon Slayer. Inosuke put on an absolute show in the Entertainment District arc. Are you kidding me? The fact that he was able to pretty much be the catalyst for Daki's demise. Because Inosuke was dual wielding swords, and he also has a very unique sword that has ridges in it that's able to cut through the ribbons that Daki uses. Her entire moveset is just straight ribbons. Inosuke was the perfect counter to Daki and was pretty much the catalyst for Daki's demise. We know he's agile, he's quick as well, and the beast breathing is something that he made up on his own. That alone should put him in the top half of the 12 right now because he created beast breathing. It's his own style, it's his own way of fighting. But there's some work to be done. At number 5, for swordsmanship, technique, skills, remember, this is all we're discussing. We're not talking about power scaling, just as a swordsman. I'm looking at Yami from Black Clover. Out of Asta, Yuno, and Yami, Yami is the perfect example as a pure swordsman in Black Clover. He has been using the sword since day one. We know that his greatest technique is the dimension slash that we've seen against some of the top tier opponents in the Black Clover verse. It was able to cut through the Word Soul Devil in Zagreed. It was able to cut through some top tier opponents, and he can even use the dimension slash Equinox. It's crazy. He can use it from long range. And let's not forget that after training with Mereoleona, he was able to add the mana zone to his game, which means that if you're able to get within the radius of his mana zone, he's able to attack you almost instantaneously. And we've seen that happen to Dante. Yami is on a completely different class, and let's not forget to mention that because he is a dark magic user, he is also arcane. So he is pretty much showing us that this is the potential of an Asta once Asta starts to rely more towards his swordsmanship skills and less on the fact that he is an anti-magic user. We are down to the last 4, and now it's getting crazy. Because at number 4, I'm going with Roronoa Zoro from One Piece. I know the Zoro fans out there think I'm being very, very disrespectful, but I think this is a perfect place to put Zoro based on who is left on the chart. Zoro is a fantastic fighter, and he's the only one on this chart that we've ever seen that has wielded 3 swords at once. That puts him in his own class. But there are some better swordsmen on this chart, and we will get to that later. Zoro has improved his armament haki, he has proved his durability, he has proved his battle IQ against Kaido and Big Mom. He's shown us that because he has great haki now, he can block a combined attack from Kaido and Big Mom with his swords. He also has access to Conqueror's haki. This puts Zoro automatically in the top 5. The only reason why I don't have him higher is that there are some swordsmen in his verse that he still has to prove to me that he is better than. And because he's getting better in haki, we are seeing some glimpses of his end game, but we still have to see a lot more from Zoro. Again, we have to also understand that he has Odin's old sword. And he's giving us a little tidbit of what Odin would do on a day in and day out basis. This is why I think we have to hold off on putting Zoro at the top swordsman in the verse, but he is getting there. Now we are getting down to the top 3 swordsmen on this chart. And at number 3, I'm going with Akame from Akame Got Killed. She is top tier, second to none, box with Esdeath, one hit KO sword. Are you kidding me? Everything that Akame has shown us in Akame Got Killed was top tier. She even boxed against her own sister. Let's not sleep on Kurume and her abilities, but Akame is just that deadly that she fights with lethal intent. This is what puts her on a top tier level, because Akame does not waste her strikes on building damage. When Akame strikes, she is trying to kill. That alone separates Akame from a lot of the lower tier swordsmen on this chart, because a lot of the lower tier swordsmen on this chart are just swinging, but they're not trying to actually end it all in one blow. Akame is trying to end it all in one blow, which automatically puts her in the top 3 because she's a pure swordsman. She knows how to move with her sword. Top tier all around. But she's not 2 though, because you see the boy in the top left hand corner. That would happen to be Hawkeye Mihawk. That would happen to be, quote unquote, the greatest swordsman in One Piece. Now I have questions with that, because obviously I think that Shanks is number 1 in the verse, but I will get to that later. It's about Mihawk today. Mihawk wields the black blade, y'all. Do you know what this means? This means that his haki was infused into the blade so much that it became a permanent black blade. He is a former warlord who has traveled the seas by himself. Mihawk has boxed against Shanks on multiple occasions, and let's not forget all of the credit that you guys give to Zoro and his haki improvements. A lot of people are forgetting that Mihawk was the one that trained Zoro in haki. We have to give credit to Mihawk for Zoro's progression in the story. So at this point, you already know who I have at number 1, but that is none other than Kenshin Himura from Rurouni Kenshin. Hands down, Kenshin Himura is the greatest swordsman on that chart. Absolutely, no questions about it, no doubt about it. He is the Batosai. In his verse alone, Kenshin was boxing with a wooden sword. He was holding back throughout the entire show. The only person that gave Kenshin a little bit of a struggle was Shishio. Everybody else was fodder to Kenshin. He was moving around with a wooden sword, chilling, having a good time. Anytime he struggled, it was because he had a wooden sword and he was holding back, people. That alone should tell you that Kenshin is top on the chart, top in his verse, no questions. He was number 1 since the beginning of the show. Obviously a number 1 on this chart. I think all of these swordsmen on the chart are top tier, but there are a lot of names that were left off, and we're gonna go over them. Where is Saber from Fate Zero? How is Arthur not here? That is a big question. We also have to ask, where is Guts from Berserk? Guts is probably one of the most brutal swordsmen, but he can cut down whole armies by himself. That means you know how to counter on 360 vision. You know how to move around, defend your back and your front at the same time. Guts is in this conversation as well. Where's Urza Scarlet from Fairy Tail? That we know that she changes her weapons all the time. That's her magic power. She can change her armor. But one of her best and greatest offensive armors is the attack mode, where she has a sword. How is that not brought up in this conversation? Urza should be here as well. Where's Ichigo Kurosaki? How are we leaving off one of the greatest soul reapers in existence? Ichigo has drawn one of the greatest powers from his Zanpakuto, but he's not on the chart. How does that happen? Lastly, where's Kirito from Sword Art Online? Great magic power, and he also has great hacks to help complement his swordsmanship skills. You have to have Kirito in this chart as well. Now you guys let me know down in the comment section below how you would rank these swordsmen based on their swordsmanship, not just power scaling, people, their swordsmanship. Tell us what swordsmen were left off. I know there was a lot of swordsmen that were left off. I tried to name some of them, but there's a whole bunch more that could have been on this chart. Put them down below and we can go over them. And with that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.